Hello, welcome to Global Affairs. Please subscribe Global Affairs channel. Today we'll talk about China's AI artificial intelligence dominance. So let's start uncovering and explaining however our digital world is dynamical and changing us. The Pentagon, first ever chief code officer, abruptly quit his job in 2021, and now we apprehend precisely why. Nicholas Chalin, former CSO of the US Air Force and House Force, told the Monetary Times that the US has no competitory fighting probability against China in 15 to 20 years, once it involves cyber warfare and artificial intelligence. Chalin, a 37-year-old school entrepreneur, sighed that cyber defenses at several government agencies are at kindergarten level, which companies like Google were doing the USA a ill turn by not operating with the military a lot of on AI, since Chinese firms were creating a massive investment in AI while not obtaining all decorated informed the ethics of it all. And whereas quitting your job as a result of America has already lost the AI race could be a bit dramatic, Chalin isn't the sole one who's involved concerning China's dominance during this arena. A growing variety of leaders in Washington and Silicon Valley are disturbed about the US falling behind within the race to AI supremacy. Legislative Assembly hearings on the longer term of AI are going on since 2016, and Chalin aforesaid he plans to testify in some future ones. Earlier this year, the National Security Commission on AI, a project chaired by former Google Chief Executive Officer Eric Schmidt, conjointly with boldness declared that China is poised to surpass the US as the world's AI superpower. In an exceedingly statement signed by Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey, and Stephen Hawking, among thousands of scientists, the Commission said, AI technology has reached a degree wherever the preparation of such systems is, much if not wrongfully, possible inside years, not decades, and therefore the stakes are high. Autonomous We-10 tokens are represented because the third revolution in warfare, wants powder and nuclear arms. We will all agree that no one needs China to create a real-world version of Skynet, the almighty AI that takes over the planet in the Terminator movies. However, we don't want the USA to try to that either. And what will the goal during this AI race really look like? Will the US really need to win in any respect costs? For years, pundits have been comparing the AI race to the house race, and warning that the USA is losing it. It's a handy analogy, since it helps Americans place current conflicts with countries like China and Russia into the acquainted context of the Cold War. Several have argued that we tend to found ourselves in a second Cold War and that the country that wins the AI race can take the throne because the dominant superpower. However, the AI revolution isn't regarding fighting wars or government dominance. What we're athletics to create will rework almost each facet of our lives, from however we run businesses to how we method data to how we get around. Therefore, it's imperative that the USA is thoughtful concerning quickly charging into a future stuffed with autonomous cars, infinite knowledge collection, and regular surveillance. These are the applications that next-generation AI can enable, and if a tiny low cluster of powerful school firms and/or the US military pushes for innovation without putting the correct guardrails in place, this world-changing technology may lead to some grim unmotivated consequences. President Biden called for the US and Europe to figure together on developing new technology responsibly in an exceedingly Gregorian calendar month speech at the Urban Center Security Conference. We must form the principles that may govern the advance of technology, and conjointly the norms of behavior in cyberspace, artificial intelligence, biotechnology so they're accustomed raise folks up, not USAID to pin them down, Biden said. We should rise up for the democratic values that created potential for us to accomplish any of this, pushing back against people who would monopolize and normalize repression. You'll also look to contemporary China to check what the closest way forward for a lot of AI-centric society would possibly look like. As Kai-Fu Lee argues in his book AI Superpowers, China, Chemical Element Valley, and therefore the New World Order, China has been a lot of aggressive at implementing AI breakthroughs, particularly in surveillance and data assortment applications, thanks partly to government support and an absence of oversight that lets some school firms there leapfrog the competition and dominate entire industries. WeChat and its parent company, Tencent, are excellent samples of this. On WeChat, privacy does not appear to be a priority, however the huge quantities of information the app will collect are actually useful for coaching AI. Imagine, if you will, that Facebook non-inheritable Visa and MasterCard associated integrated everything into the functions, similarly as endowed cash into Amazon and Uber and OpenTable so on and so forth, and created a scheme that when you log into Facebook, of these things are one click away then you'll acquire them with another click, Lee told the Big Apple magazine. That is that the reasonably convenience that WeChat brought about, and its true value is the mammoth knowledge set of all the user data that goes through it. This can be the type of winning at all prices approach that seems to give China a leg up within the AI race. China also appears to be enjoying catch-up when it involves establishing standards for recursive ethics. Simply last week, the country issued its first ever pointers on AI ethics. The USA has long illustrious that algorithms can be racist or sexist, and therefore the Pentagon adopted its guidelines on moral AI nearly 2 years ago. And as we've learned a lot of recently, the AI that firms like Facebook and YouTube use to dish content can even be accustomed to radicalize people and undermine democracy. That's why, particularly in the wake of Facebook, whistleblower scandal that exposed internal analysis showing that its products were harmful to some users, as well as teen girls, lawmakers within the USA late appear a lot of fascinated by talking about however to control algorithms than the way to beat China in the AI race. The two things aren't reciprocally exclusive, by the way. Chalin, the previous military code chief, has actually earned his right to associate opinion about how quickly the US is developing its cyber defenses and unnaturally intelligent computers. And currently that he's taking his information of how the Pentagon works to the non-public sector, he'll in all probability keep cash addressing his concerns. For the rest of us, the increase of AI shouldn't desire a race against China. It's a lot of sort of a high-stakes poker game.